There is one mistake I made many years ago that cost me a business and a lifelong friendship. And if I could sit across from my younger self today, this is the story I would tell her. Hi, my name is Emily Dickinson. I'm 83 years of age, and it is truly a privilege to sit here and speak to you. Thank you for being here. Today, I want to share with you some of the mistakes I have made throughout my life. Not because I enjoy reliving them, but because perhaps the lessons I learned might spare you a little pain. We all make mistakes. That's life. But some of them stay with you. And this one stayed with me. I have always had an entrepreneurial spirit. Even as a young woman, I was full of ideas, projects, plans, little sparks of inspiration that would light up my mind. It's just who I am. And many years ago, I had what I truly believed was a wonderful business idea. Not just an idea, a unique opportunity. I could see it clearly in my mind. I had thought it through. I had the enthusiasm, I had the resources, I had the fire in my belly. But what I did not have was action. And that was my first mistake. I had a very close friend called Alice. We grew up together, shared secrets, shared dreams. We knew each other's families. We were woven into each other's history. Even though she didn't live locally anymore, we spoke often. And whenever she came home to visit her parents, we would meet, just like old times. One sunny afternoon, we met for coffee by the bay. It was beautiful. The sea was calm. We were laughing. Everything felt easy. And like I always did, I told her everything. I told her about my idea. I explained it in detail. The concept, the opportunity, how it could work, why I believed it would succeed. I trusted her completely. Why wouldn't I? She listened. She was quiet for a moment. Then she looked at me and said, "I don't know, Emily. That sounds like a lot. Are you sure you're not taking too much on? I'm not sure that would work." It wasn't harsh. It wasn't cruel. But it was enough. Because slowly, gently, she began to talk me out of it. And when you hear doubt from someone you trust, it lands differently. I left that lunch feeling slightly deflated. I told myself she was wrong. But the seed had been planted. And seeds of doubt grow very quickly. Over the following weeks, I did something else I shouldn't have done. I shared the idea with more people. I bounced it off a few others. And one by one, they questioned it too. Is that realistic? Is there even a market for that? Maybe it's too risky. And without realizing it, I began to question myself. That beautiful, clear vision I once had became foggy. And instead of acting, I paused. I told myself I'd revisit it later. I put it on the back burner. 2 years passed. Life moved on. Alice and I remained friends. Or so I thought. Until one day, I met another mutual friend, Lily. And she said something that made my stomach drop. "Oh, Emily, isn't it wonderful how well Alice is doing with her business?" I smiled politely. What business? And as she described it, my heart sank. It was my idea. Every detail, every concept, everything I had shared with her that day by the bay. She had taken it, built it, and made it successful. And she had never said a word to me. The betrayal I felt in that moment, it's hard to describe. It wasn't jealousy. I had no issue with her succeeding. I would have cheered her on. What broke my heart was this. She had discouraged me from pursuing it, then pursued it herself. She had planted doubt in me and confidence in herself, and I had handed it to her. That mistake taught me something I have never forgotten. Keep your business to yourself. Not everything needs to be announced. Not every dream needs to be validated. Not every idea needs approval. Sometimes the moment you speak something too early, you weaken it. Sometimes people don't even mean harm, but their fear becomes your fear. And sometimes, people mean exactly what they're doing. I also learned something even deeper. If you truly believe in something, you don't need permission. You don't need validation. You don't need a panel of opinions. You need conviction and action. Because the world will always have doubters. But the most dangerous doubt is the one you allow into your own mind. Well, I lost that friendship. We eventually fell out. Trust, once broken, is very hard to rebuild. And yes, it hurt deeply. But the greater pain was knowing I had talked myself out of my own dream. And that is something I never allowed to happen again. If you have an idea, if something has been placed in your heart, protect it, nurture it quietly, work on it diligently. Then let the results speak for themselves. Not everyone claps for you behind closed doors. And not everyone who smiles at you is rooting for you. That's not bitterness. That's wisdom. And I learned it the hard way. Another mistake I made was shrinking myself. Not because anyone forced me to, but because I thought that was what I was supposed to do. When I first got married, and especially when I had my first child, something changed in me, but not in the way you might expect. I didn't just become a mother. I tried to become what I thought a mother should look like. And those are two very different things. I have always had a big personality. I laugh loudly. I speak passionately. I dream boldly. That's who I've always been. But when I became a mother, I slowly began to tone myself down. I thought motherhood meant becoming softer, quieter, smaller. I cut my hair. Now that might sound like a small thing to you, but it wasn't small to me. I had always had long hair. It was part of how I saw myself. It made me feel feminine. It made me feel like me. And one day I cut it all off, because in my mind, that's what a practical mother did. Practical, sensible, put together. I started dressing differently too. Less color, less personality, more appropriate. I swapped pieces I loved for pieces that felt acceptable. And I started reading all the books. Oh, the books. How to be the perfect mother. What to feed your child. How to discipline correctly. How to schedule naps. How to stimulate development. And instead of listening to the instinct that God placed inside me, I began following instructions. And slowly, very slowly, I began to feel something I couldn't quite name at the time. It wasn't depression. It wasn't unhappiness. It was a quiet misery, a quiet stifling. Because somewhere in the middle of trying to become the ideal mother, I had stepped away from being Emily. And here's what I learned, but it took me years to understand it. Motherhood does not require you to disappear. You do not have to shrink your personality to be nurturing. You do not have to silence your intuition to be responsible. You do not have to cut off parts of yourself to fit into a role. The world has an image of what a mother should be. Society has opinions. Books have systems. But instinct? Instinct lives inside you. Every mother has it. It's woven into you. And when you silence that voice in favor of outside approval, something inside you begins to ache. I remember one day looking at myself in the mirror. Short hair, clothes that didn't feel like me, trying so hard to do it right. And I thought, where did I go? That question stayed with me. And slowly, over time, I began to return to myself. I grew my hair again. I wore what I loved again. I trusted my instincts again. And do you know what happened? I became a better mother. Because my children didn't need a textbook version of motherhood. They needed me. Whole, authentic, alive. Children don't benefit from a mother who has erased herself. They benefit from a mother who is grounded in who she is. And that was a hard lesson for me, because I had to unlearn a lot. Unlearn comparison, unlearn perfectionism, unlearn this idea that love meant self-erasure. You can be devoted without disappearing. You can be nurturing without shrinking. You can be responsible without becoming someone you're not. And if I could speak to younger mothers today, I would gently say, don't lose yourself trying to become what you think you should be. Your child doesn't need a role. They need you. Thank you so much for watching. I truly hope you're enjoying these videos. I can honestly say, I'm enjoying making them. There's something very special about being able to sit here at this stage of my life and share the lessons I've learned, the mistakes I've made, the things I would do differently, and the things I'm grateful for. If even one small part of my story helps you in your own journey, then it's worth it. Until next time, goodbye.